Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I just wanted to come on and do another conversation. You guys know this is a Dear Alpha Female conversation from my book, Dear Alpha Female, It's Not Him, It's You. An interactive devotional designed to help you achieve the love you deserve. This was not planned, but I just wanted to come on and share something I think is one of the key points in this whole Dear Alpha Female conversation. So, this is the thing when you go through heartbreak, right? Most of us go through heartbreak, and I talked about we actually make fun. Hey, Nikiva, we actually make fun of the fact that when women go through heartbreak, especially a difficult heartbreak, one of the types of heartbreak that leaves you, feeling different and unable to eat and unable to kind of pick yourself up. A lot of times when we go through that type of heartbreak, our instinct is to build a wall around ourselves, right? It's an instinct because when you get hit, you hit your hand on something, you burn your hand on something, the first thing you do is you try to put something on that wound, and then you stay away from what hurts you. um but I said, in love, I was talking to I did a podcast yesterday on Hardly Initiated, and it was a great conversation, and I had done another one a couple of days before, and I talked about the fact that anything that you want to get better at, you have to, as opposed to when you get hurt, running from, you actually have to go further in, right? If a basketball player shoots and misses a shot, what does he do? He rebounds and he shoots again, right? And so for many of us as women, we don't, if we get hurt, we don't immediately think to rebound and shoot again. What we do is we think to like lick our wounds, pull away, lick our wounds, and build up a wall. Hey, this queen won't quit. Welcome, welcome. You guys come on in and please like this conversation because I want people to hear this. I think this is one of the main reasons that women struggle with relationships, specifically as we get older and we've went through life changing or life altering heartbreak. Um, when you go through something, that type of pain, and I'm speaking to you all as someone that has definitely been through that. Um, and I think that's one of the things that created my alpha personality. And I think that's what creates a lot of our alpha personalities is we want the ability to control the situation. And so we build up these walls and our friends congratulate us, right? It's like, oh, I don't care. I'm not going to get hurt again. Nobody's going to play me. I'm not going to look stupid. And you don't. And no one gets in. You don't get played, but you also don't get loved, right? I'm gonna say that again. So you can build these walls to where you won't get played, you won't get dragged, you won't get punked, you won't get done wrong, but you also won't be loved, right? And that's what I was experiencing. I was like, well, I may be, I could be a lot of things, but I'm not going to be stupid, right? And I wasn't, but I also was not open to love either. And that's not the goal either. And so what I realized is we're telling each other as women, we're giving each other bad advice. The bad advice is to, sis, make sure you don't go through that again. We stop dating or we start to date, but we hold our hearts hostage, right? And so in holding our hearts hostage, we're telling the outside world that we're no longer those vulnerable girls. When you hear, I've heard of so many men say, once a good girl is gone, she's gone for good, right? And what that means is that they know once a woman gets hurt a certain way, she is not able to ever really love with that type of freedom, with that type of vulnerability again. And I'm here to tell you all that that is not true, but it takes work, and it takes working in the opposite direction of the way you've been going, right? So as opposed to going through heartbreak, and the first thing that we do is we get in the gym, which there's nothing wrong with that. We get in the gym and we get in our bag and we get into ourselves and our girlfriends. And what that looks like is walls built up to keep a man from coming in. And really, it's just a little girl that's been hurt. and is trying to save herself from being hurt again. And so, what I am telling you, sisters that are joining me today, is that once we go through heartbreak, we need to lean the opposite way, right? Yes, we need to heal, but healing does not look like avoiding men. Healing does not look like bashing men. Healing does not look like avoiding men. Healing looks like, first of all, taking accountability for what we did in those situations. A lot of times we ignore red flags, right? We ignore red flags. And then when those red flags come and slap us in the face, we want to blame the man. And what I'm saying is, no, a lot of us have been hurt and there is no excuse for what they did. But what we can do is take a moment to inhale and exhale and figure out what we could do differently ourselves in those situations. And the culprit is never loving the person. Um, I think that we should all realize as women, that there is no shame in loving wholeheartedly. There's no shame in giving someone your heart. Um, there is only shame in closing that heart and being and still wanting love, right? Because then you're doing something that isn't going to make sense. It's not going to give you the results that you need. So I would suggest, like I said, taking a moment to inhale and exhale and then trying to figure that situation out, but also giving yourself love, giving yourself grace. A lot of times what we do, hey Colton, what we do is we withdraw and then we start to villainize men in our heads, right? And that's easy to do. I'm not saying that that's not what often feels good, but usually what feels good is not necessarily good for us, right? So for example, if I go through something that's difficult and hurtful, my first reaction usually is to go, have a strawberry sundae. Strawberry shortcake sundae is my absolute favorite dessert, right? So I would want to go have a strawberry shortcake sundae, but that is really not good for me. That actually is bad for me. And so if every time I get hurt, I go and have a strawberry shortcake sundae, I'm creating a behavior pattern that's very detrimental that could lead to me being, having all types of other issues. And so really the reality is to address the issues. Alicia Kelly, thank you so much for that question. You can find the book on Amazon.com. You can also find it on Barnes and Noble. You can find it at Walmart. All you have to do is Google Dear Alpha Female. It's not him, it's you. This is what it looks like. And you can Google it. You'll find it on all those different sites. And get your copy. There is a forward here from Chili from TLC, who is a good friend of mine and who has been a part of this love journey with me. But yes, please do, and please come back and let me know your thoughts on the book once you purchase it. But I really want to talk to you guys. I want to be very clear about the way that the process that we deal with heartbreak, and I want to suggest finding new ways to cope with that. Because usually, if you talk to women who are have been single for a while and have been set in their ways, hey Kiki, a lot of times those women have gone through a heartbreak and then they have decided, I'm not going to go through that again, and they have started to create this process that keeps them safe, right? Keeps them in control. But that process often keeps them single, or it keeps them from finding the type of love that they truly want, right? It keeps us from being able to be vulnerable in a situation. And when you're not vulnerable, then you can't expect someone else to be vulnerable with you. And so I'm going to suggest 3 tips for dealing with heartbreak that are very different from what we have been taught to do before. I think the biggest issue with so many of us, hi, Renee, thank you so much for joining. And I really felt, like I said, this wasn't a scheduled conversation. I just felt the need to do this. And so I really hope that you and other people that hear this will be taught, we'll get something from this conversation. But the first thing I think is the biggest thing that we do is we try to replace the energy that we put into that relationship. We try to replace it with work. And as tempting as that is, because we know that work, definitely, I looked at it like work is always going to give me a return on my investment, right? But what also will give you a return on your investment is investing in yourself. And when I say investing in yourself, I mean your spirit and your soul, not your bank account, not even your body, because I think your body is really important. I think working out gives us a sense of internal confidence, and it has external value as well. But most importantly, the biggest thing for working out is it's going to make you healthier, and it's going to make you more confident. It's going to make you stronger. So I think that's a great place to start. I have no problem with us getting in the gym, right, and getting our workout on, anything that you can do for personal self development. But what I would suggest, ladies, is that personal development does not include, work. You need to feed into things that feed you, right? Because once you go through a breakup, or you go through heartbreak, you are at your most vulnerable. And so the patterns that you develop during that time period are very difficult to break. Very, very difficult to break. And so once you decide, I'm going to substitute work for that relationship, once you decide, I'm going to substitute alcohol, for that relationship, or dealing with other men for that relationship, those patterns are very, very detrimental and difficult to change. I use an example of like crutches. If you, when you break your leg, it's so interesting because we look at this analogy of going through pain. When you break your leg or you're in an accident, they put you in physical therapy. And physical therapy is not about babying those areas that have been broken. Physical therapy is about challenging and pushing those areas that have been broken. And we do that when it makes a lot of sense to us when it comes to working out. I mean, when it comes to, building muscle, you build muscle by breaking muscle down, and then it breaking and healing together and then pushing it. If you break your leg, you have to push it. You have to be uncomfortable. If you break that leg and stay off that leg, it will not heal, and or it will heal in a way that's dysfunctional and will not allow, that where you can heal a break the wrong way, and eventually down the line you have to break it again, right? And so that's what happened to me. I healed incorrectly from my heartbreak. I threw myself into work. I threw myself into avoidance. Hey, D Glove. Hey, twin. I threw myself into work. I threw myself into neglecting Christal and neglecting those feelings, and focusing on just putting everything that I had into a career. And years later, I had to go back and break that leg again. And so I'm talking to you all because I want people to be able to learn from that mistake. There are so many women. I did this podcast, like I said last night, Harley initiated, and there were so many men commenting and saying that, it's not about the woman. I don't want a career woman. I don't want a woman that's overly ambitious. And their reasons is not because they were intimidated by the woman. It really was about her not having balance. And I can acknowledge that's probably one of the biggest issues that I dealt with in my relationship that I am in now. I did not know how to have balance. And so when I am telling you, I always tell women, I want to be the ghost of Christmas future, right? I don't want you to go through what I've gone through. I don't want you to go through what so many women in their late 40s and 50s and even 60s could tell you, because it's like, oh, I made the wrong choice. I dealt with that pain incorrectly. And now I've got to go back and right that wrong. Our culture will tell us, our society tells us that everything is fine as long as you get the bag. But I know enough very successful people on both sides, men and women, to tell you that that's not true. That you can have a bag, you can have a snatched waist, you can have all the plastic surgery in the world and still be internally unfulfilled. And I know this conversation is not popular, and this is not what most people want to hear, but I know that this is true. I know that it's true. And so this channel, and I've got to get better about really encouraging participation, and I'm working on all of that, because I really just want to come here and say the message. But at the end of the day, the message gets to more people when there's more, conformity, and there's more consistency. And so I'm dedicated to doing that. I appreciate those of you that are subscribed to this channel and do support and looking to definitely grow that. So please feel free to share your feedback with me and your expectations for the channel. But I also want to be authentic and to continue to be authentic. So again, I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and like this broadcast so that other people will see it. It's really important that the likes are in early on. And I know that it's just not something I always do. I'm a lot better publicist for other people than I am for myself. But I know this message is so important for women to hear. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is not to resist the temptation to throw yourself into work, right? Resist the temptation to substitute that energy for anything other than your internal self, right? The second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to speak positive over your life, to as opposed to, and I trust me, I get it, ladies. It can feel great to dog the guy out, right? It can feel so amazing to talk bad about him. It can almost be refreshing to have other people chime in and talk about how horrible he was to you. But that what that does in the long run is it keeps you connected to that pain. It keeps you connected to that negativity. And so the best thing that you can do for yourself, Danny is right, it takes too much emotional energy. It keeps you on a roller coaster of pain. And so much like the basketball player that throws that basket and misses, he doesn't have a chance to sit and cry about that basket. He's got to get that rebound and get that ball right back up there. So on that rebound, we don't need to be thinking about that lost shot. On that rebound, we need to be thinking about what we can do different and getting right back in the game, right? Getting right back in the game. So again, the first pointer I'm going to give you is please do not lick your wounds by withdrawing and putting your emphasis on work or putting your emphasis on anything that's a substitute other than something that's a part of you, right? Anything, anyone else, another man, don't give it to another man, because anything other than you, anything other than investing in you is going to be something that's going to be difficult for you to break later, but inevitably you're going to have to do it. The second thing is do not give in to speaking negatively about that situation with your girlfriends. I would give myself a time period each day. You got 30 minutes to get out what you need to say. And then that needs to be it for the day. And you need to move on in a positive way. Words are so powerful, and it's less about him and or her, and it's all about you. And so I would ask you to guard your words so carefully. Guard your words so carefully when it comes to a breakup, because anything that you say that is generalized, you're going to bring that back to you. So we say all men ain't this and men are dogs and I can't stand men. All that is negativity that you're going to draw to you. So I'm asking you, dear sis, guard your words. Even if you have to, back to that old Disney adage, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So many times you may have to hold your tongue because you may not have anything inside besides vitriol to speak. But it's so important that you don't allow that to come out of your mouth, that you don't allow that to come out of your mouth. The third point I'm going to ask you to do is not to go on a date, not to go out with another man until you can distinguish between the two. And I can say this because I did this wrong, right? I did this the wrong way. I went on dates with the pain from my ex as the driving force. I went on dates comparing people to him and taking all that he had done and looking for those consistencies in the next man. And so I would ask you, sis, do not go on a date with another man until you're able to see him for him and not bring any of that old baggage into the date. I have actually been on a date with someone and actually was almost teared up, because I wasn't over the hurt. There's this idea that, I got to get rid of one man and get another one to prove that I'm back out there. And I think that you do need to rebound quickly, right? You do need to rebound quickly. Don't waste time and space and energy over someone that is not meant for you. But I think that it's important that I do interviews for people about being ready to love. And if you are not over your past, then you are not ready to love. If you're not ready to love, then it's better for you not to go on dates. I would suggest spending time with friends, spending time with guy friends that you're not in relationships with. I can say, I know that God placed amazing men in my life that were my friends, and they helped me so much because it was hard for me to hate men because I had so many amazing guy friends. D Glove is one of those friends that was like, had my back and would talk to me in positive ways and encourage me. I had so many friends, Mo, John, Ray, that were Brian, that were in my life, and not in a romantic way. That guys that I work with, tricky, they would encourage me, and they would look out for me. And so it was really difficult for me to say men ain't this when I had men in my life that were pouring into me. And so I think that sometimes we have to be okay and be comfortable with being in friendships with men and seeing the good in them. Outside of that, the only other thing I would say is, like I said just a minute ago, don't wait too long. Put yourself on a plan. If you lose your job, you do not wait too long before you start looking for another job. You get that resume together, you figure out what direction you want to go in, and you get to moving, right? And so, ladies, I would say make sure that you do not replace the energy with something else. Do not put work in that space, as difficult as that is. I know, but I promise you, you'll thank me later. Make sure that you guard your words, speak positively. Do not go on dates with people just to be on the date. And then the last thing is, try to rebound as quickly as possible, because you don't want to waste time missing out on something that could be amazing for you, for someone that wasn't for you initially. I think what God has for us is for us. And remember, that rejection is often God's protection. And you're right, Danny, work is a comfortable distraction, but comfort is always bad. Anything that's comfortable is not making you better. If you go work out and your workout doesn't push you, you're not getting better, you're not getting stronger, you're not burning calories. Anything that is comfortable is not good for us, right? It's not good for growth. So I would suggest that you stay away from things that are comfortable distractions and focus on things that are going to heal you. You cannot heal a broken leg by babying that leg, and you cannot heal a broken heart by babying your heart. And as difficult as that is to hear and receive, I promise you that is true. And so I'm going to put these points in the chat at when this for this conversation. But I just wanted to share that with you all today because I just felt led to. Most of our alpha personalities are built on fear. And that could be the fear of being heartbroken again. That could be the fear of not having enough after going through a heartbreak. My grandmother would always say, make sure you have enough to take care of yourself. Don't put a man first. All these things that are based in fear. And what I'm telling you is we cannot live our lives that way. If you live your life based in fear, you will live a life that is less than what you deserve and what is the best thing for you. So, again, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to be doing more of these conversations. Please like and share this discussion. I think this is so important for so many women because if we did the right things at the time of the breakup, then we wouldn't have to go back later and re-break that leg and re-heal all over again. So try to heal the right way the first time, and then I promise you, you'll be able to move forward without having all this baggage. That song that Erica Badu had about the bag lady, right? The bag lady, she didn't heal the right way. She just picked up the bag and carried it with her. And so that leads to us having additional issues in relationships. That leads to us having to stop and start over again as opposed to just moving through. Kiki said, what's your advice for a woman within a marriage in her healing process to continue on our healing journey, but not wanting to give up on the marriage because he just doesn't understand? That's a great question, Kiki. And my advice would be to do the work on yourself. I think that our relationships with other people are basically just a reflection of our relationships with ourselves. And so once you're married, I feel like it is really your job to really give your marriage the benefit of the doubt. And the best thing that you can do for your marriage is to fix yourself, because number one, you're going to show up differently. And then what comes out of you, he's going to respond to. And if he doesn't, then eventually you would know that this is not the right situation. Right. But I think that what I would suggest is to continue that and find a way to really be dedicated and invest in your own healing. And when I say invest in your healing, I mean, you have to really make yourself uncomfortable to do it. You have to put yourself in positions and situations, be it going to a therapist, joining a group. You have to do something that challenges you, right? And helps you bring about that change. For me, I would go to therapy, and I'd gone to therapy before, but the therapists that left the lasting and the most impactful impression on me were therapists that made me uncomfortable, right? Therapists that I was a little bit upset with at first, because it was harsh. If anybody remembers my episode on Iyanla Van Zant Fix My Life, she was definitely, hard on us. She was not, it was not this kumbaya, sit down and let's just hold hands and talk pretty to each other. No, she challenged us. And some of the things that she said stung, but that's why I was able to receive it and get better. And so I would say, Kiki, if you're in that situation and you're attempting to be on a healing journey, then you have to be intentional about that healing journey. If you can't afford to go to a therapist or go to a group, then do research. The great thing about today's culture is that you can get on YouTube, you can find broadcasts like this, you can find other broadcasts of people that are speaking to this, and you can actually do the work. That's one of the things that I made sure in this book that I had. This book has the opportunity for you to do your own work, because my experience is not going to be your experience. My image of love and my definition is not going to be yours. So you need to be able to write out and do the work for yourself, because you can't, you got to be able to listen, and then you actually have to be able to execute. And so when I say, I just want to kind of define that the healing process, it takes initiative, and it takes intention, and it takes putting yourself in a position that makes you uncomfortable. And I would say do all that and focus on you and pray. I love that movie War Room, because you see the woman praying and God dealing with her. And you have to allow God to deal with your husband on his own, right? You can't change him. All you can do is change yourself. And a lot of times changing yourself will incite change in someone else. But I definitely encourage you to do everything you can not to lose your marriage. And so the best thing you can do for your marriage is to be a better version of yourself, and do all the things that you can to do that, and then allow God to make those changes in your husband. I wish you success, because I believe that many of us give up on marriage way too soon. Marriage is not supposed to be perfect. Marriage is not supposed to be comfortable all the time. Marriage is not supposed to be you telling your significant other what they need to do. Marriage is really about two people who are willing to serve and are willing to work on being the best version of themselves for that relationship. And so that's another thing, I think, that we totally take that the wrong way. And I'm going to be doing more conversations about marriage on this channel as well, because I'm married. But I think so much of my journey was as a single woman getting to this point, that a lot of what I'm talking about right now is geared towards women who are single and want to be married. But there's also a conversation for married women and how we have to handle ourselves as wives. And so many of us were not taught how to be wives. So we have to learn now. It's no, you don't get a pass because you weren't taught how to be a wife. You have to, if you want a marriage and you want something that's going to last, and you have to be willing to do the work and to actually, find the information. I didn't see a healthy marriage growing up. And so it's up to me to go out and find those relationships that speak to me, find mentors, find opportunities to talk to people that are in marriages that mirror what I want to see in my own marriage. It's no one's responsibility to do that but mine. So I say this a lot of times on this channel, and I say this a lot of time in conversation. I believe in that African proverb, physician, heal thyself. I believe that we need to pray and allow God for direction, but you have to get up and you have to be intentional. You have to be willing to put in the work, to go after what you want. So I agree 100% with you, Danny. Often we focus on what the other person needs to work on, but it's about getting yourself together. 100% of the time, 100% of the time in marriage, it's about you getting yourself together. And when you do that and you allow God to work on the other person, usually 9 times out of 10, you'll see a huge difference in them, because marriage relationships are mirrors. They're mirrors. And so we attract what we put out. And so I want you all to be aware of your own light, right? And willing to take accountability for that. So I appreciate you guys joining. Please, before you leave, make sure that you like this broadcast. We have 20 people in the chat right now. If we could get 20 likes, that would be amazing. So please make sure you like this, make sure you share it. Like I said, I am definitely going to do my part to be more consistent on this channel, but I so appreciate all of you that are hanging in there with me, getting this word out and finding a way to put it in a package and that the message is more relatable to a broader audience. So I love you all for hanging out with me on a Tuesday afternoon. You guys know I will be back on Friday with another conversation about Ready to Love. But there'll be more of these Dear Alpha Female conversations in the meantime. But you can always reach out to me. On Instagram at Enchanted PR. You can always send an email to Dear Alpha Female. You can hit me on any platform. I'm on Twitter, Enchanted PR, Dear Alpha Female, and share with me your feedback on the book or even one of these conversations. You can leave messages in the chat, and I definitely check all those and try to respond to as many as possible. So I want to encourage you all to have an amazing week. I want to encourage you to guard your words, guard your thoughts. And if you have thoughts, just don't allow anything to come out of your mouth that is not in alignment with the future that you would want for yourself. I love you all for watching. And remember, I am not my sister's keeper. I am my sister. Make sure that you get those likes up. Thank you so much for those 15. If we can get 5 more, I think we'll be in a great place with this broadcast today. And I will see you guys right back here later this week. All right. Have a great one. Bye-bye.